Okay, we are going to be working on steps to solve a multi-step equation. So in the area where you have the numbers 1, 2, 3 for the steps, if you will please write down what I have on the screen. The first step that we're going to be doing would be the distributive property. That's where you have the parentheses and you multiply what's in the front times everything on the inside. The term in the front times the terms in the parentheses. Step 2 is combining like terms. So that's when you can add or subtract the same the variable. And then step 3 is really just what we did before. So it's inverse of adding and subtraction, and then the inverse of multiplication or division. So that's what we're going to be working on today. So while you finish writing that down, I'm going to write down the first problem that's on your page. And that problem, I have my pen upside down there, that problem is 9x plus 1 minus 7x minus 5 is equal to a negative 20. Okay, we're going to follow these steps. So the first one is to look at your problem and see if you can do the distributive. Now, the distributive is only works if you have a parentheses. Well, obviously we don't have a parentheses, so we're going to go to step 2. Step 2 is combine like terms. When you combine like terms, you look on one side of the problem to see if you can combine like terms on that side. And then you look at the other side to see if you can combine it on that side. So obviously over here, we can combine these two because they both have an x. These two we can combine because they don't have a variable. So 9x minus 7x is 2x. And then 1 minus 5 would give you a negative 4. And then I'm just going to bring down the negative for 20. Now we have a two-step equation like we've been working on. Okay, we want to get this x by itself. This is 2 times x, so we don't want to do that first. We want to do the inverse of adding or subtracting. So we're going to do the inverse of subtracting 4, and we're going to add 4 on to both sides. And that gives me 2x equals a negative 16. The negative 20 plus a positive 4 is a negative 16. Our last step, this is 2 times x, so the inverse of multiplying is to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And then my answer ends up being x equals a negative 8. And that's my final answer. Okay, let's go to the next problem and let's work on it. So let's look at problem 2. Slide this up and here we go. For problem 2, we have on the left-hand side, all we have is 91. So we know we're not going to do anything over there. We're just going to bring it down for right now. Over here, we have a negative 7 times 3a minus 1. First step, the distributive property. Well, yes, we can do that because we have a parentheses. So I'm going to multiply whatever's in the front times each term on the inside. So over here, I have a 91. And this is a negative 7 times 3a, which gives me a negative 21a. And a negative 7 times a negative 1 is a positive 7. Okay, now this is a two-step equation. So let's do the inverse of adding or subtraction because we want to isolate this variable a, get it by itself. So the inverse of adding 7, I'm going to subtract 7. If I do it on that side, got to do it on this side of the equal sign too. Okay, a 91 minus 7 is going to give me 84. Those cancel, and so I bring down a negative 21a. Okay, last step, the inverse, the multiplication or division. So I'm going to divide because this is a negative 21 times a. So I'm going to do the inverse and I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 21. Those cancel. This side only has a, and 84 divided by a negative 21 gives me a negative 4. Let me move this up slightly, and we're done. All right, we're going to look at 2 more problems together, and then you guys are going to work some on your own. So let's do number 3 together. Here we go. Here is number 3. Make sure you're paying attention to each step because you're going to be doing these on your own very soon. Okay, here's problem 3. We have 4m minus 5. In parentheses, we have 3m plus 10. And then equal to 126. All right, here we go. First step, distributed property. Well, we have a parentheses. So I want to multiply what is directly in front of the parentheses times everything on the inside. So this, I'm just going to bring it down. And then a negative 5 times 3 is a negative 15m. And a negative 5 times 10 would be a negative 50. And then I just bring that down. Okay, I want you to look at it and think about what do we do for the next step. Okay, we're going to combine these like terms. So 4 minus 15 is a negative 11. Yeah, I can combine these because they both contain the same variable. And then I just bring that down. Okay, now it's a 2-step equation. So we're going to do the inverse of adding or subtraction on the same side as this variable. So I'm going to add 50 to both sides. Those cancel, so I bring this down. And 126 plus 50 is 176. My last step here is to divide both sides by a negative 11 because that's multiplication. So I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 11. And my final answer then is m equals a negative 16. And I'm finished. Once again, you're just following the steps. Distributive property, which means you multiply what's in front of the parentheses times everything on the inside. Write it down in the next step very neatly. Combine any like terms. They both have an m, so I can do 4 minus 15m. And then you start doing inverse of adding and subtraction and multiplication and division. Okay, we're going to do our last problem now together before you work some on your own. And you can always look back at the other problems on the video if you need help with the problems that you're working on your own. Okay, here's problem 4. A negative 3 times k minus 8 minus k plus 5 equals a 23. All right, we're going to go through our steps. First step is doing the distributed property. Okay, I actually have 2 different parentheses here. So over on this side, I'm going to distribute on the negative 3 times each thing inside of the parentheses that follows it. Here, I'm going to multiply a negative times everything on the inside. This is understood as having like having a negative 1. Okay, let's do the distributive. A negative 3 times k is a negative 3k. A negative 3 times a negative 8 is a positive 24. Negative 1 times k is a negative 1k. And a negative 1 times 5 is a negative 5. Phew. Okay, that was just multiplying. What's in the front times each thing on the inside. Now we're on step 2. Step 2 says to combine like terms. Okay, well let me look for those because we've been doing a lot of stuff here. So let's see, this has as the variable k and this has the variable k. So those are my two like terms. These two are the same because they don't have a variable. So here I go. I am going to do, I'm a negative 3 minus 1 is a negative 4k. 24 minus 5 would be 19. All right, now we're going to do our last steps, and we're going to do the inverse of add or subtract, and then the inverse of multiplication or divide. So first, I'm going to subtract to 19 from both sides. That cancels. I bring down a negative 4k. 23 minus 19 is 4. Last step, this is multiplication. The opposite is to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 4. And my final answer here would be the variable k is equal to a negative 1. All right, now I'd like for you please to work problem 5 on your own. Thank you.